So I just finished watching the Odyssey, and here's my spoiler-free review. So this film is based on the ancient Greek poem of the same name, and follows Matt Damon as the protagonist Odysseus, who's the Greek king of Ithaca, on his long journey back home in Ithaca from Troy after the Trojan War, and to reunite with his wife Penelope, played by Anne Hathaway, as well as his son Telemachus, played by Tom Holland. For some context as well as my own personal background, this film is directed by Sir Christopher Nolan, who has previously made several masterpieces throughout the century, such as the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, Dunkirk, Memento, Prestige, and Oppenheimer, the latter of which earned him Oscars for both Best Director and Best Picture. In the middle of my year 7, when I was first discovering the amazing world of cinema beyond simply watching movies casually, and beginning my journey towards becoming the cinephile I am today, Christopher Nolan was my favorite director. He was my idol, and I was really obsessed with him and his movies. And 6 years ago, when his film Tenet was coming out, I remember I just spammed my Snapchat story with everything to do with Tenet. And once again, Christopher Nolan has made an absolute masterpiece. Even though this film is 2 hours 52 minutes, it honestly feels like only 2 hours. Only Christopher Nolan could have made a movie that's this massive in both scope and scale, while also shooting it entirely with IMAX 70mm film cameras in just 91 days, without compromising the story or anything else for that matter. With a movie as humongous as this, watching in IMAX is 100% more than worth it, even if the nearest IMAX cinema from you is an hour-long drive. Regular cinemas do not do this film justice, let alone extreme screen. I love how Nolan goes all in and fully commits to using practical filmmaking and effects for this film. He's not afraid to use real ships, real armor, real locations, practical stunt work, and real dead and mud throughout the film without relying heavily on CGI. This made the film all the more immersive. I love his approach of doing the difficult work during production and filming rather than just fixing it in post, which I reckon is a philosophy that more directors should adopt too. I also love the practical effects used for the Cyclops and other creatures and monsters in this film, and it honestly feels real, believable, and plausible. I consistently believe that movies should, by default, use practical effects wherever possible, and only use CGI to polish up things that were simply not feasible with just practical effects. The film also has 2 amazing horror sequences, and they go on to show that Nolan could someday make an amazing horror film. Along Odysseus' journey from Troy back to Ithaca, he stops at multiple islands, and the miniature adventures that play out on each of these islands felt a lot like The Mandalorian, as well as other episodic TV shows too. Also, the performances in this film are all amazing. Matt Damon, Tom Holland, and Anne Hathaway all give amazing performances as expected, but I particularly like Anne Hathaway's performance in this movie. John Leguizamo also gives an amazing performance, and Himesh Patel too, and Samantha Morton is just exceptional at Cersei. But my personal favourite performance in this entire film is by Robert Pattinson as the main antagonist Antinous, who is a massive arsehole and dickhead, and someone you just love to hate. I also love the sound mixing in this film, as well as Ludwig Göransson's score. Now, in case you didn't know, before the first official trailer for this film dropped, everyone was super hyped as expected. But after it released, a lot of people who were initially excited just all of a sudden started to hate on all sorts of things online, such as it having American accents, or the dialogue is too modern, as well as hating on some of the casting choices, especially Lupita Nyong'o, Elliot Page, and Travis Scott. As for the accents and dialogue, it honestly works in the film and was not at all a problem for me. And as for all the controversial casting, they all each have like no more than 5 minutes of screen time within this almost 3-hour film, so it just goes to show that all the hate online after the first trailer was just stupid and unnecessary. Also, Travis Scott plays a bard, and back in ancient Greece, before the Odyssey poem was actually written down, there were storytellers called bards who would memorize the poem and perform it aloud for audiences and pass it down through generations before it was eventually written down. He also barely has any screen time in this movie, but the reason why Nolan chose to cast him was because he's a rapper, and rapping is similar to oral poetry. Like, it's one thing if you watch the film and genuinely dislike it and genuinely criticize the casting, dialogue, accents, or anything else. But it's another thing to just condemn and slam on the film before even watching it, let alone it even releasing. Especially when you were super hyped for the film beforehand. Also, throughout this century so far, Christopher Nolan has been consistently putting out masterpieces, so I reckon he's earned the benefit of the doubt, 100%. So overall, I give The Odyssey a solid 10 out of 10. It's a must-see in cinemas, and I cannot stress enough, a must-see in IMAX. And just to reiterate, if your closest IMAX cinema is like an hour-long drive from your house, then it is 100% worth it. You have to do it, because no other cinema does this movie justice.